guys, it's me, Tartarus Queen Dragoness again. And in today's video, I wanted to I wanted to actually put out a video last week about the whole controversy of my state essentially being the target of trans hate again. Um, I'm still contemplating whether I want to release that video or not because it was just essentially just a total rant video. Uh, but before I ever decide to ever post that video, I want to go ahead and talk a little candidly. You know what? No, I want to talk candidly about something because it's been disturbing me for many years. As being part of the trans community, and this whole insight is based on what I see a lot. Um, as far as people saying, trans women are women and ideology and stuff like that, and this whole premise of the video is based on an inspiration of a video that Gothics has recently put out, and it's further solidified that from Mr. Walsh that people don't really understand what transgenderism is. Okay, according to the World Health Organization years ago, I think it was in 2018 when the World Health Organization stated that transgenderism is neither a disorder or a disability because it doesn't hinder our ability to function in life. Okay? So that brings us to what is transgenderism? Okay? I think in a lot of ways, even the trans community doesn't really understand what transgenderism is. We're all calling for rights, we're all calling for equality, we're all calling for understanding and stuff like that. But what is it essentially? And I put out a video some months ago saying that, you know, there are approximately, at best, 1 billion transgender people around the world, roughly. And I still stick by that number. It's a sort of a culture that not a lot of people want to even talk about or, essentially address because uh, people don't want to be ridiculed or looked down upon or judged or anything of that nature. And that goes with, different races, different religions, and stuff like that. But aside from the one one in 300,000 people in my scenario who are born with a sort of a mental disorder called gender dysphoria, um, which is essentially a person whose mentality doesn't really match with their physicality. And it's a very, very rare disorder, to say the least. And those people do have a right to essentially change their physicality. Okay. And out of the so-called billion people that are, in the transgender world, I want to say maybe roughly 300, maybe, I know less than 1 million people are legitimately uh, in the trans portion. So where does that leave the rest of the, 900,000 people? Well, this is gonna end up being kind of a little bit off-putting because a lot of the time people in the trans community I've noticed that there is one thing in common. And if you look at through all the stories, through all the research, you'll notice that one word keeps coming up, and that is depression. The the word depression, self-sorrow, self, you know, depravity, everything like that, that is the sole reason why people like myself, even, as a person in the LGBT community, or the trans, or, crossdresser, transvestite, whatever you want to call it, that's why we are here. And there's no real medical evidence to support that transgenderism is a medical disorder. However, leading up to said form of transgenderism is, it could be fetishism, it could be escapism, it could be, dealing with depression, it could be, a myriad of different things, active criminal activity, and the like, even go as far as maybe espionage, and maybe different careers that require people to be part of the trans community and the like. And so while everybody's crying for, trans rights and stuff like that, a lot of people don't really realize that they are actually suffering from a psychological disorder to some extent. And unlike going to alcoholism or drug abuse, or, you know, um, doing some self harm like slitting your wrists or stuff like that, people chose to escape reality by becoming the opposite gender. Other factors include, um, what is it? Fetishism. That's also a big thing. Um, Neuroticism, kinks and stuff like that. And these people are also calling for so-called rights, but they don't understand themselves that they are not part of the trans community per se. They are just a bunch of sick weirdos who want to be able to take advantage of a movement. Whereas people like myself, you know, I have a complete wardrobe of um, of women's clothes, and I feel like women's clothes is very comfortable, and that's why I would be preferred to be called as a crossdresser. Really, I would be defined as a crossdresser. But being as a crossdresser, that's indicative to perversion, or in some cases, being as a form of entertainment, which in many cases it really is a form of entertainment, because you see drag queens all over the place who, you know, overly exaggerate the feminine figure. But they are gay men, and they know they're being entertainers. But what about people like transvestites? Okay. Now, transvestites are people who are of the whole perversion thing. And that's a mentality that's kind of mind boggling for me. But what about people like myself who want to present as a female and don't care to live life as a male? Is that gender dysphoria? And I have a feeling that a lot of the time is that's not always the case. I'm starting to think that I'm using my form of transgender transgenderism as a form of escapism. Um, because I too suffer from depression, or have suffered from depression, and to an extent still do, um, because I'm not really living a very happy life right now. I'm 38 years old. I live with my parents. I survived a horrifying abusive relationship with my ex-girlfriend of 7 years, about 10 years ago. That relationship ended. I work for Whataburger for $13.55 an hour as a team lead for 5 years now. I have a Chrysler vehicle, which is totally unreliable from 2009. That was from the year of 2005. Still runs good though. Um, I don't make much money. I don't have any marketable skills. I don't have anything useful to essentially call myself a person who should be proud of themselves in the long run. At my age, I should be finally paying off the mortgage of my first house. I should have a wife. I should have kids. I should, be having a vehicle that is reliable. My dream car is a GTR 34 or 30. I could go as far as 32. Um, and living the dandy life and giving my kids uh, the life that they deserve. But that's that's no longer possible. It has been destroyed, and the mere fact that I suffer from a degree of attention deficit disorder doesn't really help much. So I can't be taught. My life is turned upside down. I work for a job that is paying me poverty rate. No family, still live with my parents, have a rinky dink car, and I just don't care anymore. And it's sad, really. It really is sad. And right now, I would be bawling down tears right now, but I've completely been desensitized to everything. Now, whether my whole premise of being part of the trans community is because of my depression is something that I want to look into. But of course, I don't have any medical insurance because I can't afford medical insurance. And I want to go ahead and live life to its fullest, but I just don't have the motivation to do it. I just don't. But I don't know if it's the same for everybody. And that's the thing that I don't think a lot of medical professionals even understand why people are in the trans community. Because while the, you know, low percentage of people who do have every right to be in the trans community, what about the people who are using it as escapism, criminal activity, fetishism? What about those people? I mean, it's a thing. And all these states, catering to the whole transgender movement and people when they really don't understand why it is what it is a little disturbing because to me, they are catering to criminals. I mean, you could see in the state of Texas, child abuse is a thing. Well, maybe their parents are bullies. Maybe they're being bullied at school. Maybe they're being called a girl. And then all of a sudden your child comes to your home and saying, I feel like a girl. Well, could they be bullied? Because I remember back in my years when I was bullied, people used to call me a girl too. I fight like a girl. I move like a girl and stuff like that. And I don't do boy things. So it could be that. And it could be the fact that maybe the parents are actually promoting that behavior to continue by being the bullies themselves. Because essentially, a lot of the time that you hear these stories, it's depression. That's the key word, depression. What about you guys? How did you enter this whole entire world of transgenderism? Is it because it's a kink? Is it because you want to understand women more or the opposite gender, how their feelings are? Or do you suffer from, said dysphoria? Is it sadness? I think we all need to reflect in our lives where we are not happy, where we are happy, and stuff like that. And try to be the person who we want to be. Forget all the makeup, forget all the girl clothes, forget all that other stuff. What is it that got you to that point? Because I know for me, it was depression compounded by the fact that I was mostly raised by my mother. And I emulated everything about my mother. Because my father was not really all there. So, or essentially reliable. Yeah, I've lived a very, very, very depressing and sad life, to say the least, all the way up to almost 40 years old. Whether I will get out of it alive, I don't know. Well, I'm still alive. I should have been dead years ago because of that abusive relationship, but I'm here today. And I don't know what to do. And as much as I want to go ahead and continue on with this sorrow train, I'm just going to go ahead and leave it at that and let you guys think about why you're here. And trust me, it'll blow your mind. And I'm still having my mind blown even after this video. With that being said, guys, I hope you found this video insightful. And I hope you guys find great success in your life. And much happiness. Because at the end of the day, if you're not really happy, then maybe go out there or go on a soul search journey to try to find who you are. And come back home and change everything. Yeah, I know some things will be drastic, but hey, change may be a good thing. With that being said, request que te empache.